Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight on this fine Sunday evening? Ready to talk about some football? Ready to talk about some Inter Miami? Maybe a little World Cup? Maybe a little TV? We got a few topics to talk about tonight. I am your host, Peter Brown, and this is FMTV Weekly. I am flying solo today. Ed is busy with the family right now, so helping some family members move. And got tied up and is running late. I was thinking to myself real quick if I was going to make up some silly story about why he was missing, something embarrassing or something like that. But no, just went with the truth. He's just busy with the family, so he'll be back probably on the Monday night show or next week. But this week is just you and me. So I need your help. I'm flying solo. I need your chats. I need your phone calls, whatever you want to talk about. Let's do it. So I don't see any chats in the queue yet. So, let's start saying hello as you start watching. Drop a message in, and we can get to talking. Several things that I was gonna say. Lots to talk about. Not a ton of things to talk about, but an expansion draft happened. So. We lost some players and we gained a player, so we'll talk about that. But of course, you know the routine. We will do all of that right after we thank Caneswear. And Caneswear is where you need to go to get, well, those shirts right there. I mean, that hat, that ball. You need to go there, get it. It's good stuff. Best prices in town. So that's where you need to shop. And, tell them FMTV sent you. And you'll get a good deal. And if you want to leave a voicemail, you could do that, 786-474-4435. See a couple chats coming in, so give it another minute. I'll tell you, I was just like Ed, busy Sunday, almost didn't make the show, spent the day in Stuart, hanging out with all the old people in Stuart, Florida, and going to see my mother. And yesterday was a busy day of dance with my daughter, doing her ballet, or not really ballet, more contemporary, seeing three shows over 2 days. So busy weekend, but fun, good stuff. See the chats coming in. Let's get to that and say hello to the first couple people I see. Welcome in B King, who is really going to miss Indy. Kata is in here as well. What's up, fellas in chat? Happy Indy is gone. Very, very opposing views here. Never did much but hustle. And then Doofster is in as well. I'm sad for Indy, but even more sad for Campana. It seems like he is not making the World Cup. Yeah, that's what Ed was chatting me. Ed was chatting me a little bit about the fact that it doesn't look good for Campana as far as a World Cup. One World, one goal is here. And I don't know what they're talking about, but she's here as well. So let's get right to it. This show without Ed, it may get cut a little short, so we may only do about 30 minutes today. We'll see how long we can go, right? So you want to join in and help, we'll get it going a little longer. Let me drink a little coffee. My Brazil Starbucks mug. World Cup's coming, so drink a Brazil mug. Why not? All right, so let's start with the topic. So the first thing on my mind was following Twitter. I didn't watch the draft. It was on YouTube through MLS and all. I didn't watch the draft, but I followed along with it on Twitter because, like I mentioned, I was watching my daughter's dance on Friday night and Saturday. But draft expansion team is allowed to pick 5 players, and they can pick only one player from a team. So no team is ever at the risk of losing more than one player. We protect a bunch of players. I know there were some amongst myself and a few friends chatting about why someone like Pozuelo wasn't protected, but it makes sense that he's not protected because he's out of contract, and when he gets re-signed by us, hopefully, he'll be expensive, and an expansion team doesn't tend to go and get an expensive player from another team. They'll just go and get their own DP. So, but as you all know, the news came through, and we say thank you and goodbye to Indiana Vassilev, which, just looking at the chat, is very differing opinions about him. I'm more of the opinion that along the lines of Kata. I think Indiana, was good for us in that first 2021 season, which, when you look at his stats, I remember being really good. He only scored 3 goals. Only scored 3 goals in 21 appearances. So not as high of a performer as we think, but he hustled, and I thought he was a good contributor to the team in 2021. I thought in 2022 there was a drop-off. I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. So I get not protecting him. He's apparently he's out of contract as well. So they're going to have to work with his club over in England. I don't know if they're going to re-sign or what, but from what I understand, he might be out of contract with them. But I don't think it's a big loss, to be honest. I'm not sure how if you guys agree with me or not. I know that B. King likes him, but for me, he was just an okay player. And you could be just swapping Indiana for this guy, Jake LaCava. I'm having a hard time with this name. I'm struggling with this name. I want to say Cavaza or something like that, but Jake LaCava. We pick him up. He was signed by New York Red Bulls, but he's played last year with Tampa Bay Rowdies, where he scored 12 goals, and I think it was like 30-something appearances. I don't know, a lot of appearances. Overall he made 37 appearances, and started 30 of them, scored 12 goals. He's a forward, but how Phil Neville likes to put forwards and put them on the wing. So I would imagine he potentially is just a replacement for Vassilev, a young, hungry guy, did well in USL. Tampa was a damn good team last year, and that's in part because of him and his contribution. So another young guy, cheap. I didn't look up his salary, but it's going to be I think most draft picks are somewhere in, I don't know, what are they, in the 65,000 range, something like that. Somebody else wants to look that up, but it's easy to find that stuff. You just Google it, you find it. But I just didn't. One World One Goal says we do need wingers and forwards. Oh, and defense. She's saying we need everything, right? Is that what you're saying? We need everything. Interesting that I thought that of the unprotected, Damian Lowe was unprotected, Mabika was unprotected. I was kind of surprised that they didn't protect Mabika. Not that I'm a big fan of Mabika. He's okay. I like Sailor better, and Sailor was protected. But that's a little bit telling, I think, that neither of those two guys were protected. So that's telling you that, they don't mind losing them, but they didn't. Jay Vasquez is checking in. He agrees this could just work as an equal trade. Yeah, and look, Indiana was not a starter most of the time. I don't know if he started at all last year. I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure he started at all. But so this guy would imagine be in that same type of position where he's coming off the bench, trying to make a difference in the game. Oops, wrong one. 2 cameras. There we go. So, as always, 786-474-4435. We do have one call in the bank, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Troy's checking in, saying we need our academy to produce our own players and skill. Give it time. So I see a lot of time people comparing. They look at what Philadelphia did, and you want to emulate what Philadelphia did. Philadelphia has a lot of people from their academy, the homegrown players and all that, did a great job with that. Jim Curtin did a great job with that. Took them a long time. Philadelphia was bad for a long time. Don't forget that. So we're only 3 years into this. Give the academy time. You know, they've produced a few players that, you know, they signed but don't really play. So, you know. But I get it. I think you know, there's so much talent in South Florida. They've got to develop some for sure, and they've got good coaches with you know, on that squad. I was, you know, talking about Breck Shea with I think with Eric, and you know, they declined his option. Breck Shea's out of contract. I'm curious if Breck Shea retires, because if he does retire, I'd say snatch him up, bring him into the academy as a coach if he's interested in that. I know his girl lives in Deerfield, I think it is. So I would assume he is interested in staying in South Florida. So I thought that was a fun idea. Jay Vasquez is saying that he was hoping Damian Lowe would have been taken. I thought that was a possibility as well. Not that our defense was anything great, but I think he was our best defender. And so Sebastian Cepeda is asking if the new signing is good. You know, 12 goals, 37 appearances, third, you know, I think Tampa finished in third with the team he was playing for. So hopeful he translates well to MLS. He hasn't played any MLS games yet, even though he was signed, by New York Red Bulls. He played for their 2 team, and New York Red Bulls 2. So, and other news, you know, I think you guys probably all know this too. Phil Neville got his contract renewed as well, but only for 1 year. What do you guys think about that? 1 year extension for Phil Neville. So it's perform or you're out. So that tells you right there, they're not super confident with Phil, because otherwise they would have signed him to a 3-4 year deal. They signed him to a 1 year deal. So it's still a wait and see approach on Phil. So it's win this year or he's out. That's how I read it. But and I saw some people complaining, saying, okay, mediocrity will continue. Look, Phil earned, I said it before here, he earned this. He's turned this team around in a sanctioned year. We got another sanctioned year, and he's done pretty good. I mean, we had our ups and our downs. His biggest thing was trying to change the culture of the team. Seems to have done that. Culture seems to be good. People are happy. Let's see what Chet Pancake says about the extension. I think 1 year extension is reasonable. Both Neville and the owners know the expectations for this club. And if Phil underperforms, then he's done. They want to move forward every year. Agreed. Troy thinks that Phil has delivered. Look, I'm not the biggest Phil fan throughout his time here, but he's done. I like the fact that they signed him to a 1 year deal. He's earned that. I don't think he's earned a 3 year deal, but he's earned a 1 year deal. Sebastian says the 1 year contract is like not bad, because we could see how we do this year and to see at least if we could do good in the playoffs. Again, we're still got to cut him a little bit of slack because we're still sanctioned. We don't have as much money as other teams do. So there is a little bit of an asterisk. Cut him a little bit of slack, but I think as long as they see forward progress, he'll be back for maybe another 1 year deal or something like that. As long as we're forward progress. If they tank halfway through the season, he probably gets axed. You know, and then we've got an interim Jason Kreis as a coach. He's got MLS experience, so why not? That, I think that's a possibility. Anyways, let's go to a voicemail early, and let's see what I think One World, One Goal has to say.
For your voicemail.
Hello.
Hey, Peter, Uncle Ed, and all the great fans. It's Italia, One World, One Goal. Well, we got our Coach Neville back and Chris Henderson. Yay! This will give, everybody loves Chris, of course, from our Fusion days. And as we said with Coach Neville, it'll give some consistency because they're already making trades. Welcome to the new guy. I already forgot his name because that's just how Peter and I roll.
I know his name.
And sometimes Ed. And we're terrible with names. And Indy was sent, no more Indiana Vassilev, Indiana, and the temple of whatever it was, is sent over to the St. Louis, is going to be launching their team. So that's pretty exciting. And, answering the NASCAR question, because I'm going crazy. There's NASCAR's over at the same time that MLS is over, but at least we got the World Cup coming up soon. The thing they do well, I've been following racing since I was a kid. We watched like the Indy 500 and we're all into that. And my, being Italian, we love Mario Andretti. And then my brother was actually a professional motocross racer for a while. And, so then when NASCAR came on the scene, what they did great was really embrace the fan engagement on the broadcast. And they have like owners and, the crew members, which is like kind of our GM. And, then they have, of course, all the different drivers, which is like our players. And now a lot of people's sons are in it. They have like second generation, third generation. And on the broadcast, they have past drivers announcing the game. So the way that we have, the races, the way we have for our games, like a Ray Hudson, Alexi Laus, Taylor Twellman, now Marcela Balboa. The league used to do better with fan engagement. And NASCAR actually suffering too a little bit with things going to social media, slick videos, and even streaming now. They're doing like a lot of their shows, went from regular broadcast to cable to now streaming. So the thing that they did excellent was they made everybody feel a part of the team, the family. They did profiles on people. Like, we didn't really know Higuain until, like, the very end. We finally got to know him, and everybody's like, oh, he's really cool. We like him. So I know with the pandemic, we just never really got to launch. We never got to really know these players. There's a lot of us in Miami, like myself, that, live in the city. We're on Uber all the time. If, the stadium was 10, 15 minutes away, we'd be going to, picnics on the lawn. And, like, Miami Heat does a great job with that, having all kinds of events at the Bayside, and people feel part of the community. So thank God we're finally going to be getting that stadium, and, not in time for this World Cup, but certainly by the next one,
Oh, she got cut off. That's okay. There's part 2 coming. But before we get to her part 2, her point about Higuain is well made. And that's one thing she and I agree on as far as marketing. They waited to the very end to humanize Higuain. And you saw him with kids. You saw him getting interviewed by UOA. You saw him interacting more with players and fans and things like that. There was just I'm surprised Inter Miami did not take Higuain from the very beginning and follow him around with a camera and post like little vignettes on him from time to time. I'm not saying, because I'm not saying he needs to do a practice report every day, but to do little things where he's greeting the kids, like the kids from the supporters clubs that come in and meet with the team. And you've got like Campana and meeting with the little girl from Southern Legion. That's great, but there should have been more of that kind of stuff with Higuain, because we were all yelling and screaming at Higuain for sucking for 2 years. But if we had saw a more human side of him, then maybe we would not have ridden his tail so hard, because you might have a little bit more compassion once you get to know him as a person. And also you sign a DP, not just, in my opinion, not just for what he could bring on the field, but what he could bring to your marketing. You put him on billboards. You put that fuzzy Valderrama head on a billboard, which they did back in the Fusion days, because they need to market their stars. So yeah, they humanized him at the very end. Would have loved to have seen that earlier. They need to do that with whoever, with more of their players, not just him. Think about that. Is one of the things that NFL does well is they do these, behind, these they find the story. They find the story about the individual players and they put it on the NFL network, and you see little, every one of these players has got a story to tell, and we should get to know them. That's the kind of stuff I hope is on Apple TV Plus MLS Pro channel. Each team will have their own little page, if you will, on that channel. So there's space for them to produce content, and they should produce little magazine style, get to know you with players and really emphasize on your star players. Anyways, and Kata saying here, MLS as a whole is bad at storytelling. Agreed. But you would think that, they could figure that out. And maybe that will happen with Apple TV. All right, let's go to her part 2.
Oh, I pulled an Uncle Ned there, talking till your tape runs out. So this is part 2. Just want to say thank everybody for all their hard work and trying to get us reorganized. I think because of the World Cup, don't expect any big announcements until afterwards. So all the fans got to kind of sit tight and, let the big rumors die down, and let's just, try to rebuild a quality team. And we don't necessarily need those big name coaches, those big name players. I think you can see that sprinkle in a couple good players and then lots of hardworking journeymen, and you can win that cup. And wanted to say, the other thing I was going to say is that we are still stuck, unfortunately, with like 8 or 9 players that, no offense, we could have probably, shifted around or got rid of, but we still have some of the curse of Tubby, as our dear friend Uncle Ned had coined long ago. We are still stuck with some of those players, believe it or not. And so we're still handicapped. And of course, we still have one more year of the budget constraints.
Yep.
So everybody sit tight, buckle up, and enjoy the World Cup, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Love you guys. Love the show.
Yeah, what was a surprise when they show the year-end player situation, players' contracts that they're renewing, declining, all that kind of stuff. When all that information was posted, early last week, something like that. When you see who is on the payroll, there's some names on there that'll surprise you, like Gonzalo Perez, LGP we're still paying him. He's still on our payroll. We're still hampered by his salary. Pizarro still hampered by his salary. So there's still some impact. It's funny is I remember I would watch the Fort Lauderdale Strikers or Miami FC whether they were in the NASL, the USL, whatever league they were in at the time, that for the most part, these lower level teams sign players every year to 1-year contracts. And that would frustrate me sometimes. It would frustrate me that every player that you kind of come to love may be gone next year because it's a 1-year contract. And they may just go where the money is, where the opportunity is. And the club that you're a fan of, Fort Lauderdale Strikers, for example, may just go and look for cheaper next year. There's no long-term contracts. Very, very few long-term contracts in the lower levels. That used to frustrate me. But then on the flip side, when you see that we sign a 3 or 4 year deal to a player and the player is no longer playing for us, yet their salary still hits our cap, you start wanting those 1-year salary contracts back. That's when it's so important for the GM to hit on these players. You are penalized for a long time when you make a mistake. And that's why, everybody needs to give Neville and Henderson time, because they were doing an expansion year last year, and expansion year part 2 a little bit this year. They're doing expansion work without all of the benefits that are given to an expansion team, all the extra money, the extra gam and tam and blam and sham and all that kind of stuff. So they don't have all the mechanisms to build a team out of scratch, which is what they're trying to do. And like I said, and still hampered by mistakes from Tubby. So it's so important to make the right decisions, and the loaning of players. It just hurts, it hurts. Looking at the chat, just some more conversation. No, now we're getting to food here. Some people are hungry. Some wanting some barbecue and all that kind of stuff. It does sound good. I was up in, like I said, I was up in Stewart this weekend, today. There's a restaurant there called Shrimpers. It's right on the water. It's kind of nice. I mean, it's not nice. It's very rustic, but the location is nice. You're on the water and everything like that. Seafood place. I had something I never had before that was good. It was a grouper Parmesan. So imagine like chicken Parmesan, but instead of the chicken, grouper. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I tried something different. It was pretty good. Since we're talking food, you guys are hungry. I'm not hungry because that meal is still with me. And I ate that at around 3 o'clock. It's still with me right now. Baldwin Ford jumping in. He's late, but he's here. Still got time. We still got time. And as I mentioned, if you're just joining late, it is just me today. Uncle Ed is out lifting some heavy dressers and things like that, helping some family members move. So hopefully he doesn't pull his back. No hernias. Don't lift anything too heavy, Ed. Don't get hurt. One World, One Goal says she loves those old dives for seafood on the water or burger and beer. Yeah, I don't even know if this is considered a dive or not. It's not a dump or anything, but it's just not. I was about to go. It's kind of a really nice place, but it's not. It's rustic, but it's perfect. People just drive up their boats. They get out and all that. Yes, Baldwin. We already talked about LaCava and Indy. One's gone, one's here. It may be a like for like type of player, in my opinion. Guyver's checking in. Welcome, Guyver. So another thing I wanted to talk about, because One World, One Goal mentioned this, I think last week, something like that. I'm not sure. I've had a little time on my hands, so I watched some TV. David Beckham has a new show on Disney Plus. I think we touched on this last week, because this is the same slide that I used from last week. Save Our Squad aired on Disney Plus on November 9th. That was Wednesday. I watched the entire season on November 9th, on Wednesday. It's only 4 episodes. It's easy to watch. Very good show. If you have not watched it, you should. And it's cool. David does not once mention Inter Miami at all. He mentions his time with Paris Saint-Germain, mentions his time with Manchester United, of course. Never mentions LA Galaxy, that he played there, and never mentions Inter Miami. However, through several episodes, he is wearing an Inter Miami like beanie, one of those kind of things you wear when it's cold. And so he was repping Inter Miami through like a hat. So it was good. And One World, One Goal is saying, how was the new show? So I would say it was really good. It was really good. So the premise of the show is that first off, there's promotion relegation in children's sports in England. I learned something new there. I didn't know that. So he goes over to England to find he finds a young team of kids aren't doing so well. They're in a specific league that David Beckham himself played in, very low level league for youth. and this team is about to get relegated if they don't turn their season around. And that blew me away, that there's promotion and relegation in children's sports. I thought that was crazy. I'm not against it. I'm just surprised. These kids have a massive pressure. Like, when I played, there was no real pressure. I didn't play for a club. I played for the Optimist, the local Optimist, where it's kind of like you pay, you play. Everybody's going to get in. And of course, we try to win and we try to be as good as we can. But, you didn't, if you won or you didn't win, you know what? We're going to go have pizza after the game. Didn't matter whether we win or lose. These kids, they lose. They want to slit their wrists. I mean, it's bad. But One World is saying it got the show got good reviews. Yeah. So there was a moment. I had a moment with this show. So there's the first episode. They kind of build up how bad this team is. They suck. The kids are terrible. Coaches basically have the kids in the locker room and they tell the kids, we promised you guys, it's been a tough season, this and that. We've promised you guys help, and here's help. Now, meanwhile, David Beckham had been watching the practice from a distance. They didn't see him. And so in walks David. And these kids lose their damn minds. It's pretty cool. It gets you a little choked up the way they filmed it. It was God, it threw me off there. I hope Grogu joins the team. No Grogu. But so yeah, the kids lose it, and it's funny is some of the kids are like blown away. Other kids are smart asses about David and just bugging him about what kind of car he drives, about his wife. I think if I remember, they ask him what we could call you, all that kind of stuff. Baldwin says grown men and women lose their minds. Why not kids? Exactly. And come on, in England, he's royalty. Like every kid knows who he is, right? Here, he might walk into a school and people may not know who he is. I think a lot will, but some may not. And Bex is very good on camera, comedy or serious. I don't know if you're asking me if the show's comedy or serious. The show is serious. The show is a drama following these kids around, and they all want to be good. And then, but the moment when he basically tells them, look, I played in this league, anything can happen. So it's like these kids, like I said, they're in a poor area, kind of your inner city type of kid situation. And he basically says, I came from this. So in other words, so can you. You can make something big of yourselves just like I did. The opportunities are there for you. You just got to work hard. And so, yeah, it's a good show. I highly recommend it. It's only 4 episodes. It's not a little kids show, but it has kids, but it's not, one of those, tiny, meant for, it's not dumbed down. In other words, it's a good show. He takes them to some cool places so they can kind of, see what they're dreaming for, right? Takes them to Wembley, things like that. And so it's cool. Really good. While I'm talking about shows and as we're getting close to the World Cup, I found another show that you guys should be watching, and that's FIFA Uncovered. Very different kind of show. Anybody watched FIFA Uncovered on Netflix yet? If not, you should. Here we go. FIFA Uncovered is basically the story of corruption in FIFA. And how far back it goes, I think, was surprising to me. And maybe it's because I'm a little naive. My wife thinks I am sometimes when it comes to this kind of thing. I want to think of the best in people. But this show is a little bit interesting to me because if you followed Miami FC, the original Miami FC, this might interest you a little bit because the guy that was the owner representative for Miami FC, Aaron Davidson, was caught up in this scandal. He was arrested. And I was friends with him. I had many conversations with Aaron before, after Miami FC games. I got to know him very well. In other words, I had his phone number. So we were, I won't say best friends, but we were close enough to where, I could call him if I wanted to. And I was hoping to see him interviewed in this show. He was not, but his face was on screen when they talk about the web of people that were arrested by the FBI. And his name was mentioned on a indictment list. So it's kind of cool. But it was really, really interesting. Deep, story about this upcoming World Cup, about the Qatar World Cup, and how, the slave labor and how many people died and how they paid people off, things like that. Baldwin says Davidson couldn't be interviewed. He's in prison. I don't believe that he is. Maybe. But once he got arrested, I lost touch with him. But last I had heard, he had house arrest, which it should be over by now. He was small potatoes. They were going after the big guys. They're going after Jack Warner, Chuck Blazer. They wanted to get Sepp Blatter, of course. That's who they were really going after. He was small potatoes. He was making payoffs for TV rights. And the craziest thing about the Aaron Davidson part, this part is not in the special because, like I said, his part of the story is too small for this story, is that his boss, the Brazilian-owned company, Traffic International, basically Aaron's doing what he was told. Pay off people, right? That's how this game works. And while the conversations about the payoffs are happening, his boss had already made a deal with the FBI. He's wearing a wire and trapped Aaron Davidson. So it was interesting. Aaron was a character. He was a character, but it's a really cool show. Again, you should watch it. It gets it could get you in the mood for the World Cup, or it could turn you off from the entire World Cup. When of course, we all, I'm sure, have heard about the issues with rights, women's rights, gay rights, all that kind of stuff in Qatar. And, apparently beers are going to be super expensive in Qatar. So it's just super, super interesting. And I think, if I remember, this is only 4 episodes as well. So an easy watch to do. So 2 good soccer shows that have hit the waves. That was a little taste of the nerd show right there, but still keeping it in soccer. I'm always love finding like kind of soccer movies or soccer shows. There's not a lot of them, so when you find one, you got to check it out. And again, this one will get you ready for the World Cup. It may turn your stomach a little bit. Some of the amount, or some of you guys are not as maybe naive as me. And you might not be surprised by the amount of payoffs. For example, South Africa paying $10 million to Jack Warner to buy his votes. So, for when South Africa was trying to get the World Cup, and they did. So because CONCACAF has a good chunk of votes, because we have so many island nations. And so $10 million to Jack Warner just to get his vote. And of course, they say it's for building soccer up. So they say all the right things, so they cover their butt a little bit. But none of that money went to anywhere. So, and actually, I think the South Africa one, the money was intended for like people that were, displaced from Africa, maybe were slaves at one time, things like that. The very poor people in the island nations, and that money was supposed to go to kind of help them, and they ain't getting any of it. So exactly, Baldwin's Qatar World Cup is totally legit, just like Putin in 2018, right? And the thing is, when you watch this special, you'll see that every World Cup since basically the 70s is in question. Everyone. And the funny thing is, I didn't know this, that the corruption with FIFA started in 1974, I think it was, with Adidas. Adidas approaching FIFA to help with marketing. That was the beginning. And then Adidas created a company, I think it was called ISL or something like that. And that handled the marketing. So it wasn't under the Adidas name, but it was Adidas. And that's when the corruption started. And at the time, the FIFA president was a Brazilian guy, Havelange. So really interesting. And you'll learn a lot about football and soccer, and how it works. And, like I said, my wife comes from Brazil, so she thinks everything is corrupt because that country has a history of corruption. So, I may be a little naive about some of that stuff. I want to believe that everybody's on the up and up. But we all knew that a scandal was happening, but I didn't know it was going on for that long. And the funny thing is now they act like, okay, we cleaned it all up. But do you really, after watching that, I don't believe at all that it's been cleaned up. They just got rid of a few people. And I got a feeling it's still business as usual, so they just have to be a little more careful. Because they were so brazen about the payoffs for votes. It was ridiculous. The kind of money that the Qataris were throwing around as well. Baldwin saying, I think Sam Neill played the FIFA prez that Peter just mentioned in the FIFA paid for movie about bladder. And how great FIFA is. It's horrible. What is that movie? Where can I find it? I would watch that. Watch the propaganda film, right? To make. And the interesting thing too about this, not to go on too long about it, but I am running out of things to talk about. The really interesting thing about this FIFA Uncovered is they interviewed everybody of import. They interviewed Sepp Blatter. They interviewed, if I remember, I think they interviewed Platini. They interviewed other secretaries. Even the American side of things. I mean, the FBI was interviewed in this. So everybody, Bill Hammam, who's from that part of the world, I think he's from Qatar, but he had worked with FIFA for many years. They interviewed him. They interviewed the prince from Qatar. So they've got all the interviews. So it was great. Baldwin is saying Chris Roth from Marvel is in it as well. What is the name of the movie, Baldwin? Where can I find it? Is it streaming? Is it streaming anywhere? Where can I find it? I guess I could just look up Sam Neill and just look at his IMDb or something like that. But I'll do that later. All right. So last thing that was on my mind, guys, is this came out. Speaking about World Cup, the roster is out and they're all on their way or already there. I think they're already there, right? Good to see our man in the middle right there. DeAndre Yedlin representing Inter Miami in the World Cup. How'd you guys feel about this team? Somebody sent me a message that this team might be the youngest or one of, I can't look at my phone right now, but it's the youngest or one of the youngest teams in the entire tournament. I don't know if that's good or bad. Do you guys have a good feeling going into this World Cup with this squad? Do you feel like, better than the last World Cup we were in? Can't say last World Cup because we weren't in that one, but better than the last one we were in. Do you feel good about it? I'll be honest. I haven't watched a lot of the games leading up to the qualifiers. I didn't watch a ton of them. But now I've got to go and sign up for like Fubo for a month so I can get all the games. And watch all the games. And the games are, coming up. We got the the U.S. Oh, where's the matches? Here it is. U.S. first game is against Wales on November 21st. It says 2 p.m. Is that right? Yeah, 2 p.m. That's a Monday, November 21st, 2 p.m. That is so close, guys. What is that? Where are we at? November. It's eight days away. Wow. So soon. So exciting. It's exciting, right? But you know, the one thing is they're not respecting our holidays and things like that, because I think we have a game on Black Friday or something like that. I think there's a US game on Black Friday. They're not they need to take a break and respect. There's a bunch of games on Thanksgiving. We have a game against England on Black Friday. You know, I got family. I can't. Oh my God. Here, let's just on Thanksgiving, I've got Brazil versus Serbia. How are we going to have Thanksgiving dinner type of thing while Brazil? My wife's going to want to watch that game. Lots of good stuff. There's no respect for our holidays. Does this whole thing wrap up before Christmas? I hope so. Anyways, right around the corner. How do you feel about our chances? Kata saying, I'm not too optimistic after the last two friendlies. Yeah, I hear you. Baldwin is saying, I'm mostly okay with it. The striker's position is the only question I have. It's the youngest roster in the entire World Cup. Okay, that's what the stat was. That's what I thought. I thought it was the youngest or one of the youngest. Kata, what do you mean 5 a.m. start? Oh, yeah, there are games at 5 a.m. But there's also games at 2 p.m. So let's see. The games that I would care about, that is early, 5 a.m. I'm good with that, though. I can get up early before work and watch a game or two, a game. But going back to Thanksgiving, yeah, there's a 5 a.m. game, great. But the Brazil game that I'm going to care about, it's 2 p.m. And then on Black Friday, when I'm supposed to be hanging out with the family, driving around, we're not going to do shopping. But I'm going to be up in Ocala with family. That game's at 2 p.m. as well. Kata saying soccer with the family is the best. Problem, going up to Ocala to spend Thanksgiving with my father, and my sister is up there as well. None of them have any interest in soccer and no interest in the World Cup. My dad would not even know that it's going on. Even if he did know that it's going on, he would pretend like he doesn't know anything about it. So One World, One Goal says the Black Friday, the Fox set looks cool. I'm gonna have to come up with a new background for World Cup, right? I think so. I think I got to come up with a new background for World Cup. One World, One Goal saying it is a young squad. Not sure they had time to gel because the lineup changed a lot and people left off like Pepe. Pepe, yes, I forgot about that. I am surprised that Pepe is not on the squad. How's he doing with his club? I don't think he was playing much, right? But he was very promising. So yeah, I'm surprised he should at least be on the team somewhere. But there's always somebody that gets left home, right? Somebody that speaking about being such a young team, that tells you, I think that's part of why you see someone like Yedlin on the team. Yedlin's just known for being a good locker room guy. Neville talks about Yedlin leading, acting like a captain when he's not even wearing the captain's armband. He's going to help this team, in the locker room, even if he doesn't play much. You feel like they bring in Yedlin for mentoring experience and stuff like that, how to handle pressure, all that kind of good stuff. Curious how much playing time he has. One World, One Goal says Pepe scored today. Oh, okay, good. Yep. They left off Donovan once. Yep, the last one. And then he retired. Richard Greenberg checking in from Las Vegas. Man, it's the afternoon over there. Kata saying he wishes Fernando Fiore was with Fox again. He's hilarious and muskrat-like. I don't know what muskrat is. But yes, I like Fernando Fiore. Fernando Fiore is a friend of the show, friend of everybody down here. He's great. But the last World Cup, I thought, and I told Fernando this, I don't like the way they handled him. They started off the World Cup with Fernando Fiore they started off by kind of letting him do some of his silly antics, because that's kind of what he does. And people love him for that. And then and he had a little more screen time. And then they started using I forgot her name, English woman, and started giving her more control, more screen time, pushing him off to the side a little bit. And they let him do some of his silly antics a little bit, but he was definitely minimized. Maybe it didn't translate as well, like some of the things he does on his old Spanish TV shows. Maybe they didn't translate. I loved it, but I don't think they handled him well. Kate Abdo, that's it. Yeah, Kata, that's her. I didn't like her. I don't like Kate Abdo. And I felt like she was kind of nudging Fiore out. And I'm sure she's only doing what she's told. And Fernando said nothing but good things about her, because here I am. I'm talking to Fernando off camera, just talking to him. And I'm bad-mouthing her, just like, hey, this and that. And he's class act. He said nothing but great things about her, all that kind of stuff. So, he's a class act. But I had told him I didn't like the way they handled him. Apparently, Fiore's on Fubo with a lot of people. So, yeah, I'm going to get that's what I'm going to do. So we talked a little bit about this. What kind of streaming service do you get to watch all the games? I don't have cable. I don't want cable. I like the way I do things streaming, because I could turn things on, turn them off. But, you need a handful of channels for the World Cup. And I have like the rabbit ears type of situation so that you can pull in local channels. But I can't pull in my neighborhood, in my area, I can't pull in Fox. So I couldn't even do that. So I need some sort of streaming service to get Fox. And also specifically going to need it for when I'm not home. Like when I'm in Ocala. I can watch it on my iPad. Even if I'm hanging out with the family, I can put in the earbud, at least one, and listen to it on my iPad. But I think that's what I'm going to go with is Fubo. It's going to cost me like $70 for the month, and I'll get their full slate of channels and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I'll see Fernando then on some of the Fubo stuff. Richard is happy. Yes. It's been 36 years and Canada is finally back in the World Cup. I just hope they score at least one goal this time. Hey, they look like the stronger team in CONCACAF. Greenberg says, hey, Peter, try a service call, Comcast? I don't have Comcast cable. I have Comcast internet, but I don't have cable. I don't want Comcast cable. I don't want to pay for cable for a long period of time or anything like that. I don't use it. But for this, so I'll pay for a streaming service, pay 1 month, pay for it, be good, turn it off after that, no big deal. Cable is just too expensive. And yes, nowadays we've got so many streaming services that we're kind of paying the same amount as cable or more, but I have the ability to turn it on and off very, very easily. So if, for example, I have Hulu, but after I watch a few shows on Hulu, like I like Handmaid's Tale, it's depressing as hell, but I watch it. Once I'm finished watching that show, I'll turn it off. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Community cable free. I don't know. What is that? I'll Google it. I will Google that. Yeah. So if there's anything better, yeah, for sure. Better than if there's cheaper, better options out there, let me know. Chat me. Put them in the comments. Put in the comments of this video after the fact if you're watching this. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you, first off. And put in the comments like your suggestions on the best streaming platform to watch the World Cup. I agree with Jay Vasquez. The Canada team looks better than the U.S. team. I would agree with that. Oh, I got you, Kata. Some communities offer free cable and mine Comcast is free. Yeah, my community does not. My community does not. Yes, a lot of, like my father's community up in Ocala, they get free internet as well. It's not Comcast because they don't have Comcast up there, but it's something similar. Okay, I got you. Yeah, no, I don't have that. My community, I got a nice neighborhood, but they don't really give you anything. So, but then again, my association fees are low. Association fees are low in my area. So, all right. Well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We did it. We did it with your help. Thank you, everybody. We did it. We hung out for close to an hour. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. Yes, Ed always says I talk a lot. Yes, I know I talk a lot. But I usually need someone to bounce off of, right? And so HOA, yes, thank you, One World. When you do this and you talk for an hour straight, you get brain farts. You know, you just can't remember stuff, and that's also age. But yeah, I came in here with a few topics on my mind to talk about, and yes, I can ramble. But you know what? I could talk for more and more and more about that FIFA scandal show. Loved it. And Kata, no, I did not see the Grogu movie. I didn't see that, but I'll go look for it, and we can talk about it tomorrow. But thanks everybody for watching. Oh, now you're saying it's the biggest waste of time. Well, I'll still watch it. I'll still watch it. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll wrap it up now. Lots of. Anthony's coming in here at the end. I recommend Captains on Netflix. Okay. All right. I'll check that out. Any last recommendations before I wrap this thing up? A reminder, go to Caneswear, check them out, follow them on Twitter and all that kind of stuff in case they roll out a sale. We were talking about it, but then we never really finalized anything. So check out if they're going to come up with any kind of sale coming up, maybe a Black Friday sale. So contact Caneswear. Go tweet them. I know One World One Gold does that a lot. She'll tag Caneswear a lot every time she gets something. So go check them out. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next week. And hopefully we'll do the Nerd Show tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. You're the best.